I'm Richie Ridge for Broadway Beat. This week we go to Sardi's and the opening night party for Brian Friel's latest Broadway offering, Translations, which is playing at the Plymouth Theater. Then it's to Tavern on the Green for the reopening celebration of Richard Adler and Jerry Ross's Damn Yankees, starring Charlotte D'Amboise, Jared Emick, Liz Larson, Gregory Jabara, and making his Broadway debut, the one and only Mr. Jerry Lewis. But first we want to tell you about the rather amazing metamorphosis of a charming old-fashioned 20s musical into a sparkling entertainment for the 90s. Mark Madama and Wayne Bryan have reworked the De Silva, Henderson and Brown 1927 Broadway hit Good News. And now summer stock and regional theaters across the country are not only doing the varsity drag, but they're singing such songs as You're the Cream in My Coffee, Button Up Your Overcoat, and Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries.
You're the cream in my coffee, you're the salt in my stew. You will always be my necessity, I'd be lost without you. You're the starch in my collar, you're the lace in my shoe. You will always be my necessity, I'd be lost without you.
The moon belongs to everyone. The best things in life are free. The stars belong to everyone. They gleam there for you and me. The flowers in spring, the robins that sing, the sunbeams that shine, they're yours, they're mine, and love can come to everyone. The best things in life are free. Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Eat an apple every day, get to bed by 3. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me.
Keep your sunny side up, up. Find the side that gets blue. If their team is knocking you flat, smile and say we're better than that. You gotta keep your funny side up, up. Let your laughter come through. Do stand up on your legs, be like 2 fried eggs. Keep your sunny side up.
Life is just a bowl of cherries. Ooh, don't take it serious. Life's too mysterious. You work, you wait, you worry so, and then what have you got when you go, go, go?
As one critic has said, this production of Good News is as fresh and alive as any of today's Tony winners. Recently we stopped by the Hit Factory on West 54th Street, where producer John Yap of That's Entertainment Records presided over the recording session.
Everybody do the varsity dance. That's the way to go. It's harder,
You can pass many a task, whether you're dumb or wise.
if you all answer the call when your professor cries.
Everybody, down on your heels, up on your toes, say goodbye to blues and do the drag.
We took a look at the show and then took a look at the book and found that the book was really problematic. And we went back to the estate, the Henderson estate, and got the permission to be able to write a whole new book. Then we went to Tams Whitmark and we got the permission to do it also from them. And we created an entirely new book to the show, and Craig Barna did some new orchestrations to the show, took the show from the 30s where the revival in '74 was set, put it back into the 20s where the action does take place, took the emphasis off of the older characters in the show, put them back onto the college kids in the show, and just created an entirely new show. After we did it in Wichita, Tams Whitmark is now licensing our version of the show, and after that one production in Wichita, it's been done in many theaters all over the country now. And it's just become like a show that's being put back into the stable of shows that are being done in colleges, high schools, summer stock, professional theaters, dinner theaters, and everything else. And it's thrilling.
Well, the original 1927 version was a great, frivolous, no-book kind of review musical where the orchestra leader would talk to the students on stage, and none of the main songs was really sung by any of the main characters, and Flo would come on and do a great number, and then Connie and Tom would have a scene, and then Gus Shy as Bobby would come out and do his vaudeville shtick, and George Olson and his band would have interplay with the audience. So it wasn't really what you expect of a book musical now. But for 1927, it was a lot of fun, ran over 500 performances, was one of the big hits of the 20s. And then it was filmed by MGM in 1930 with a few of the original cast members, and not too many of the songs left. And then they filmed it again in 1947 with Comden and Green very much rewriting the book and making it look very much like a 40s kind of musical, because it was the 40s. And then the version that we did in the 70s, despite so much good taste and some really wonderful, talented people, John Payne and Alice Faye, and it ended up, Stubby Kaye ended up doing Pooch. They were wonderful people, but because Harry Rigby had already done a musical set in the 1920s with Nanette, he decided that he would move Good News to the 30s and thereby also pick up on some nostalgia for John and Alice, whose film career began in the 30s at Fox. But unfortunately, taking the show into the 30s takes it into the Depression and out of the Roaring 20s. So we couldn't sing about bootleg hooch or flappers and sheiks and all the things that made Good News sort of a famous show. So when the 1973, 4, 5 revival toured for a year and finally came to town, we'd rehearsed every day for 15 months as they cut it, changed directors, changed choreographers. When we finally came to town, it wasn't really a very clearly thought out piece. And that version has been what they've tried to license for the past 20 years, and nobody has really done it. And that's not too surprising, really.
It's always fun to do something from the first go with something, you know. It's something, yes, it had been done before, but we were creating new lines for the first time, and creating new bits, and creating new choreography, and things don't work, and you throw it out, and you find something else that works better, and you throw that in, and it's delightful. And we had to put it up real quickly because this was also stock theater. So what, we had a week rehearsal, I think it was, and then bang, we were doing it. And just had to tighten up a few things, and it was just glorious. I love Babe. She's a hoot.
But you have a history, I mean, of doing these kind of productions that go up very fast. A lot of a theater on the road happens that way, doesn't it?
I'm quick. I'm a fast girl. What can you say? I have bad reputation, and down I'm on walls. No, yeah, I do. I like to do new projects, and yes, I have a history of new projects like Goblin Market and Merrily and various other and sundry of stuff. So.
Now, when you started working on Babe, did you look at the film, or what kind of research did you do for her?
Wayne is brilliant. Wayne is brilliant. He gave a wonderful videotape of all 30s and 20s, that style to begin with, and I just studied it like a hawk because I wanted to make sure the movements were right and vocal qualities were right. So it captured that whole flavor. It wasn't just a 90s sound. It had that 20s little catch to it and quirks to it. I mean, those characters were all kind of quirky.
I thought in order to get the show publicized, it would be a good thing to have a recording of the show. So I was going over to London last year and thought, well, I don't know anything about recordings. I don't know how to get recordings made. So I was going over to London and knew of John Yapp over there with That's Entertainment Records and thought, let me just go in and see him, throw the idea by him, and if I say anything stupid, well, then at least I'm saying to somebody in England. And when I come back to the United States and I talk to United States producers, I would know from my mistakes. Well, when I went in to see John, I presented the idea to him. I told him we have this new production of Good News. I told him it's being done all over the country. I told him about the songs that are in it, which is like a virtual hit parade. And he sat on the other side of the desk and he looked at me and he said, I would love to do it. And all I could do was look back at him and just say, but what do I do now? And the next thing we knew, we were back here. We were getting all the rights secured, getting all the books, sent Craig Barn over to London. He recorded all the music in London at the Abbey Road Studios. And actually in the same studio that they recorded I Want to Hold Your Hand. And came back over here 2 days later, and now we're putting the voices on, and another month and a half we'll have a recording.
I think I'm one of those fortunate few that happens to make my hobby into my business and my work. I collected a lot of records of cast albums and nostalgia and things like that, and it just evolved from that collection. I started a shop specializing in musical records and nostalgia records, The shop was a huge success. It was the only one of its kind in England, and I think Footlights was probably around then. But certainly in England, we were like the first. It was a huge success, and from the success of that shop came the label, That's Entertainment Records, specializing exclusively in recordings of musicals and related materials like operettas and and occasional singers and things like that. It all came out of my love for the theater and music, really.
We did this new version to see if anybody would like it, and now it's been done by about a dozen theaters around the country, and Mr. Yap has graciously preserved it on CD.